What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
My goodness, Nick, the kick heard around the world. Leon Rocky Edwards, congratulations to the UK. They officially have their second UFC champion, and what a great champion he is. There's a lot to unpack in this fight because the first round was totally surprising. If you asked me to name 100 things that could potentially happen in the first round, Leon Edwards getting a takedown and taking mount and back control on Kamaru would have probably been at the bottom of that list, if on the list at all. Then Kamaru was business as usual for the middle rounds, and then, my God, that was the most beautifully placed head kick knockout I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it's the knockout of the year as of now. And somebody's going to have to go real hard to take that number one spot. You know, when you talk about knockouts of the year and submissions of the year, the magnitude of the situation, of the fight, the titles being on the line, all that stuff plays a role. And I personally think that one trumps everything else, even if there were some crazy one-off skills, displayed in these crazy fights and something, like the Joaquin Buckley is the one that always sticks out. But there was no belt on the line. And so for this year, Leon Edwards holds it. I mean, he just beat the pound-for-pound number one fighter in the world with a crazy knockout with 53 or so seconds left in the entire fight. He's down. He's going to lose this fight. There's no chance any judge has it for him going into that fifth and final round. And, I mean, he threw up a Hail Mary, and it just so happened to land perfectly. It's a viral moment. It went insane. And to put the lights out on somebody like Usman, somebody who's never lost in the UFC, 16 or 17 fight win streak, somebody who just truly seems like a superhero, seems invincible, to put him down like that was really something incredible. And like you said, this fight was totally what you didn't expect.
Yeah.
You had Leon taking him down and actually solidifying good offensive positions in the grappling exchanges. You know, when you take somebody down with that sort of trip, a lot of times in MMA with the sweatiness and the way everybody is so, wiry and able to...
Especially Kamaru.
Right. They're able to get out of these positions before they're able to be solidified. For him to solidify that mount and then solidify the body triangle when he had the back was just really, really impressive. And then I found myself rounds 2, 3, and 4 worrying about Kamaru Usman striking with Leon Edwards. I thought he was going to knock him out a couple of times. So you never know what to expect. In 2022 in mixed martial arts, everybody does everything well. And last night was a great point of that.
And it's a testament to Leon's improvements that he's made because he's obviously a great striker, and we talk about it all the time. The UK is known for some of the best strikers in the game. They've got some of the cleanest boxing and kickboxing that the organization has ever seen. But if you can make one point of criticism, it would be that they typically lack in the grappling department compared to the Russians and the Brazilians and even a lot of the American wrestlers and stuff like that. But my goodness, this was a real improvement that we've seen in Leon's game. And Kamaru fought a great fight. I mean, he looked like the champion that we've always known Kamaru to be, and that includes facing adversity in that first round, having the cold blood to step back in there in the second round and get right back to business as usual, and then steal all of the middle rounds and looked like he was coasting himself to a pretty clear-cut unanimous victory. But I love this because I think Leon Edwards was so deserving of this title shot for a long time, and I'm glad he finally got it. I'm glad the UK has another champion. Since COVID, they've done a few events in the UK, and they have just gone berserk with the numbers and the fans, the crowd. Like, one of my bucket list things is to attend a fight in the UK because they just seem so electric. I mean, we have some good fights here in Texas, but those fights are just incredibly electric. And Dana White is alluding to the fact that the probable next step is to give Kamaru his rematch and to do it at Wembley Stadium. And what an amazing fight that would be. I personally hope that doesn't happen because I feel like the division that has been kind of controlled by one man for a long time has just had the doors blown off of it. And now you've got Diaz versus Chimaev in a matter of 3 weeks. You've got guys like Rakhmonov coming up. You've got the three-piece Minnesota that at some point needs to be answered for. And I guarantee you Colby Covington is salivating because he thinks stylistically he matches up beautiful with Leon. So 170 just got real exciting.
Yeah, and everybody got pretty vocal. Even the notorious one, Conor McGregor, was firing off tweets at everybody.
Said he was the number
night.
one pound for pound in the world, actually.
Called everybody out from Leon Edwards to Yuri Prochazka. So he's ready to fight, and I'm sure that he'll step into a meaningful fight when the time is right. My whole situation with the Kamaru Usman getting the immediate rematch, it makes perfect sense. I personally would like to see Kamaru Usman take 6 months, 9 months off and recover. That's a brutal knockout that he just faced. And to see somebody go on the record-breaking, run that he had, where he's finishing everybody, he's lapping a division, he's on his way to becoming not only the pound-for-pound best right now, but one of the pound-for-pound greatest that's ever done the sport. Seemingly invincible. For him to get that all taken from him in one night is going to weigh heavy on him. He's never going to go 6 title fights in a row again, because I don't even know if he has 6 or 7 more fights left in him.
At 35, probably not.
Yeah, he's just his pinnacle in the UFC as the champion, even though it's higher heights than almost anyone's ever reached, is now behind him. He's not going to reach the heights that he's currently already had. And I personally don't think that Kamaru Usman has to do any form of heavy lifting, any sort of title contender fights.
No.
Even if he does decide to take a year off or 2 years off. Just like George St. Pierre came back several years later and went up and fought Michael Bisping for the title. If Kamaru Usman decided to sit out for 2 years and said, you know what? No, I don't care who the belt holder is in 2 years' time. It could be Chimaev, Rakhmonov. It could be Kevin Holland. It could be Leon Edwards, whoever it is. Go take that fight. I don't think they make him do any sort of heavy lifting. He's earned the right to get right into a title fight. And I would like to see some new faces in there. I'd love to see just a changing of the guard. For the longest time, we've had Gilbert Burns, Jorge Masvidal, Kamaru Usman, Wonderboy Thompson,
Colby,
Tyron Woodley, Colby. Now, I'd love to see, Leon Edwards go in there, defend against Chimaev, go in there with Rakhmonov, go in there with Kevin Holland. Some of these guys that are fresh in there, we've all known who they are, but now they're actually cracking into that top 5, that contendership area of the division. And I'd just like to see that, because I don't honestly think that Kamaru Usman would have to do anything, not even take one single fight before he jumped right back into a title fight.
I totally agree. If anybody's deserved to just take their oars out of the water, sit and let the division play out, and then step right back into a title fight with doing nothing in the interim, I think Kamaru has earned that right. He's been the number 1 pound for pound for how many years now? I have no idea. I can't even remember. It's been so many. But the bottom line is this. This is what I would do if I was the UFC matchmaking team. I think the timing of Diaz versus Chimaev couldn't be more perfect. And I think the 2 fighters in that fight couldn't be more perfect, whichever the winner is, to take on Leon Edwards, because there's built-in storylines there. Chimaev is the hottest thing in the UFC right now, and he was also booked to fight Edwards, and that fight got scrapped about a year and some change ago. Nate Diaz fought Leon Edwards and almost finished him after getting his ass kicked for 5 rounds. So there was some real excitement at the end of that fight. So if Nate is able to pull some monumental upset against Chimaev to run back a rematch with Leon Edwards, given the way that fight ended, I'm down to see that. If Chimaev beats Nate Diaz, as most people think he will, then throwing him in there with Edwards, I think, is the right next move. And if I'm Ali and I'm advising Kamaru, it's like, look, let's sit back, let's recover, spend some time with your family, get your head right after a knockout like that. That's a brutal thing to deal with. And then let's take a look at what shakes out between either Chimaev or Diaz and Leon Edwards, or we'll throw a monkey wrench in there just as kind of an honorable mention. Maybe they make the 3-piece in the soda with Jorge Masvidal and see how that shakes out. And then you're going to come right back in, have a title shot against whoever's the champion at the time. I don't think anybody would really push back on that, whether it be the UFC brass or the fans or the fighters, to say that Kamaru gets a title shot without having to do any heavy lifting. And so that's kind of what I would hope to see, and that's what I would recommend if I were advising Kamaru.
Yeah, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but Nate Diaz has said that he's not signing back with the UFC after this, and I also realized that Chimaev is the heavy favorite and will likely get his hand raised against Nate Diaz. So it makes sense to see, Leon Edwards and Chimaev, after they've both had fights with Nate Diaz, see how they compete against each other for a belt. That would be cool. I think Nate Diaz is all but heading towards the Jake Paul super fight that takes place in boxing probably sometime next year. But if I were Kamaru Usman, I would sit back, play a strategy game, and wait and see. I think he could beat Leon Edwards in a trilogy fight. That would be a great fight. If he wants to challenge himself with a Chimaev or whoever's got the belt, I think that's a good idea too. Or consider waiting around and seeing what happens. Also, don't want to put the cart before the horse, but Izzy Adesanya might just have his most difficult fight ahead of him with Pieta. And if he decides to take some time off, let's just say he does stub his toe and lose that fight, we could see Kamaru Usman, somebody that we've always envisioned going to be a champ, going to, test himself at 185. See him go in there and avenge a loss for his good friend and fellow African fighter Izzy Adesanya. I think that stuff like that is really cool, and the best thing Kamaru Usman can do right now is sit back and let the deck sort of shuffle itself before he decides to make any moves.
Totally agree. Well, guys, drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about the new champ, and was that head kick the knockout of the year so far? Guys, if you're new here, we talk all things MMA and combat sports, so if that's your jam, we appreciate a subscribe to the channel and a like on this video. We'll see you next time.
Peace.